You'll get a decision today on the value component. Classification, the board is gonna hear all of the short-term rental appeals, and then, when they're done hearing all those, then they're gonna rule on the classification issue. So you won't have a decision on that until maybe at the latest, late August.
Okay.
Once we get through all of the short-term rental classification appeals.
So you have another
but
public one coming up in August too, I think I saw.
I mean, they're all public.
They're gonna be spread out.
Sure.
We were trying to block them on certain days, and yeah, so we've heard some already today. It's the first day we've been dealing with the short-term rentals.
Okay.
But we will hear them all. You can, of course, plead your case and all that today, and they will just basically take it all under advisement and hear from all the short-term rental folks before they make their decision with regard to classification of what we have on the docket for today. The first one we have for Alex is 1135 South Kings Highway. You have the floor, Alex.
Okay, so on this one, this is now commercial, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this will kind of encompass a lot of the properties. So the biggest problem with the residential to commercial, it is a law, and it's a law in a lot of states start out that way, and a lot have changed it as well. But here's the thing, in a lot of other cities, if it is a law across the state of Missouri, then why doesn't every city reassess? And here's the real issue. When I went and sold numerous properties recently, one that was reassessed to commercial, the poor family that bought it, we tried to appeal on their behalf because it wasn't actually an Airbnb. 235 letters were sent out to 235 hosts, 190 of which are actually Airbnb properties. We're dealing with a couple issues here. One, as of 2 weeks ago, I could not sell a property that was rezoned 3922 Castleman. Reclassified from residential to commercial, excuse me. And the reason being is someone could no longer get traditional Fannie Mae financing because it's a commercial property. So Jay-Z Properties is 10 years in of developing, remodeling real estate. I take what nobody else wants in the city and bring it back to life. So I'll take homes, I've redid almost most of Indiana, did not put them back to vacation rentals, and we eventually got into Jay-Z Vacation Rentals. Whenever we make that decision, are we gonna sell it traditionally? Are we gonna put it on as a traditional rental? Are we gonna do a short-term rental? There's a lot of factors that go into that strategy, and there's a lot of hosts that will take it from short-term rental because they only did it for 3 months traveling or whatever, and they'll transfer it right back to traditional rental, or they'll sell their property because they did it until they could move, and now they're moving, now they can't sell their property, or they can, but only to an investor. The moment you reclassified all of these to commercial, you stopped a lot of people being able to afford or purchase these homes. The problem is now these new homeowners have to come in here and sit with you guys, and I respect your time and their time. But that's what's going to continue to happen if we don't find a way to work together, is we're going to be continuing to make it harder for people to either purchase homes. Some of these people are veterans. They're veterans that are surviving off of this income. And when we get into the actual tax statistics on here, hopefully it will be a little bit enlightening, but I wanted to start with just that one point that you may or may not know. I didn't know that. I respect you guys for what you're trying to do. I really do, because you're not the first city to do it. There's a lot of cities that are, Colorado Springs, we have 3 properties there, and we're growing an entire territory. The city assessor just posted an article 3 days ago that I read that they're thinking about reassessing 3 years from now. This is an ongoing issue across the US, not just here. And so what I do is I travel to a lot of these cities and I work with different cities and learn from different cities and try to pull what's working. When you look at the tax classification difference, so the reason why is that we feel that it's, one, we're following the law, so it's a commercial property. The problem is it's not. It's a residential property. And a lot of the times, there's actually a lot of stats. 30% of the people that stay there are St. Louis residents. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen when we reclassify it to commercial. One, can't resell it. It's going to make it a lot more difficult to resell. Now we're hurting the market. Number 2, if we just look at, these are numbers that were pulled from our software. We have a software that can take a property and put it on not only Airbnb, but we put them on 100 websites, including our own jzvacationrentals.com. So the city, from us, you guys get a lot different tax dollar amount from us because we're remitting it from all channels. Most of it comes down to education. The city mailed me back a check, a tax check, and said, "Why did you send us a check when Airbnb collects on behalf of the city?" And I said, "That's one site. We're sending you checks from the other sites, and I'll take my money back, but I don't deserve it, so you keep it." Lodging sales tax on all three of these properties was $50,000 that we gave to the city. Then just three, okay? So if you were to inspire, motivate, or get any of these hosts that can no longer afford to do the Airbnb or retire, in my mom's case, then that is $50,000 not only lost, lots of money lost for my mom, but $50,000 from the city and just those three. Rental growth, these are real numbers. So this is why I said I would help you, because we have AirDNA, we pay for it, and we have an API connection. 926 active rentals brought in $9 million in 2016 in lodging and sales tax. And then if you go all the way up, in fact, and bring it all the way up to now, where I have an arrow that says to date, as of today, this morning, we have 1,875 active rentals in St. Louis City alone. So if we continue to traject upward, there are ways that we could work together to get that trajectory to be beneficial in both ways. Here's the problem that other states that I've talked to and other legislation officials that teach me. We're working backwards by doing this, because you targeted 235, 190 that are Airbnbs. There's still 1,800, right? So next year, we're going to have to play that same game. We're going to all have to be back in here. Then you have 200 more people to sit through after me, and lawyers and all of that other stuff that's coming, right? I'm trying to stop that, because if you look down and you look at Missouri in 2018, 1875, this is simple math, $48 million in 2 years. The state of Missouri went from $9 million to $48 million. If you go down to my example and you just divide 1,875, divide 48 million by 1,875 per rental, right now the state is getting $25,600 average, right? So if my 20 just went out of business, one, you get rid of 30 jobs, that sucks. Two, we bring a lot of revenue into the community, and we do a lot of good things with nonprofits. If we speak to the city's point, you would lose $512,000 at the state level in tax revenue just by 20. So basically put 10 on that, that's $5 million, right? So if we continue to add zeros to that number, because however successful we are in this room at reclassifying, you are going to have some people that can no longer be in business. You're going to have 235 or more once we revisit it next year. I could tell you every single thing that you want to know. Exactly how much they're making, their revenue, the exact zip code, the exact district they're in 80,000 cities in the U.S. It's $100 a city. Honestly, you shouldn't even have to pay for the $100. It's a phone call or a meeting. And our association that now has 450 Airbnb hosts, 200 of which will be here. We have 450 hosts and growing, eventually maybe 1,800. And now attorneys, now veterans, now firefighters, police officers, you name it. We're a wide, diverse association of people that are coming together to just make a difference. And really, we're not here to fight. I really want to make that clear. I'm not here to disrespect your decision. I think your intention is actually great. I want to empower choices. That's it. Because I think everyone can make good decisions if they have the right information in front of them. I don't know if the state really knows they're going backwards until they do what other states did and then learn that they lost $10 million in revenue, and then they're like, oh crap. That little amount we just went after on 200 people, do the math on what you guys are going to collect on those tax increases. I know it's not $5 to $10 million, and it may not even be 512,000. That's just 20. And 20 could be gone tomorrow by this whole appeal.
What's the difference between, in your table, what's the difference between total net revenue and total rent?
So you see how it says total rent and then it says total fee?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll charge you. You have most hosts, they all pretty do it very universal. You have a cleaning fee. You have different. Some people have deposits damage fees.
Okay.
So there are a lot of hosts out there still today that don't even know that you're supposed to tax on that. We do tax on fees because you should. But I knew that there might be a day that I'm sitting in a room like this, and I want to make sure that my integrity is first. And so I went back and I ate $10,000 because I did not charge it right. So the fees is broken out. I left that on there because it's important.
Right.
The other thing too to mention, if you look at this house, that property is legally classified or the occupancy to hold 5 people, and it can comfortably, it's a 2-level, 4-bedroom. It can easily sleep 10 to 12, maybe more. But we don't have air mattresses. We don't do any of that stuff. We don't put our sleep count on that. So if a hotel room that's the size of this can sleep 4, then how come that one could only sleep 5? And then I have homes a lot smaller than that sleep 10 by the city legally. This is the problems we run into is the city wants apples to apples. That's why the intention is pure. We want it to be closer to a hotel, but it's not a hotel. They're actually 2 separate industries. This is a home sharing industry, and sharing is another industry. The home sharing industry is $193 billion now. The sharing industry is larger, and that incorporates Uber. The hotel industry is completely different. The average stay for a hotel guest is 1.1.5 in most cities. The average stay here is 7 days. So you're bringing in families, you're bringing in tourism, you're bringing in good people. We have a neighborhood ambassador program where we have ambassadors going to these neighborhood meetings to be a funnel so they don't have to call into the city. The only thing I would just like to mention is that I do believe that a give and take is a good relationship. So I know you made that jokingly, but that is part of the reason for me opening up our association and myself and my resources.
What's that, on the value?
Yeah, to work together on whatever that is. Maybe that is the tax assessment. In other cities, they have solved this already. So I'm not really saying we have to scratch our heads.
Mm-hmm.
I have those resources, and there are other cities that will do it off of specific criteria instead of a one-size-fits-all. And that may be a better way. So if we could, if you guys so willing, are able to overlook this turn, we could work together and maybe solve this together to where it's mutually beneficial.
And I appreciate that, Alex.
Of course.
And, for what it's worth, Sean and I both agree that you have been more than willing to provide any information that you have, and we
Thank you.
appreciate you doing that. It hasn't gone unnoticed on
Thank
our
you.
end.
I appreciate that. Here's the other thing you guys got to be careful of too, because you're going to run into this with a lot of other ones. Is let's say someone's going to finish their project 6 months, a year from now, they could list it today, and it doesn't mean that it's actually active till next year. That Russell property, I listed, this is the first lesson that I got this because it was not a fun one. But in February of 2017, I listed my 2 Russell properties. It was a 4-family, abandoned building, terrible shape. I had to basically do 2 homes in a matter of 3 months or 4 months, and the reason being is I put it on Airbnb early and blocked it to July 1st. I just picked a date. And I didn't think anybody would actually book it with no pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And we started filling up the entire month of July in advance on both sides. So now I had families coming in on both sides and had to get 2 homes done and an occupancy inspection all before that check-in date. So that happens all the time. That's where, we have the actual calendars and bookings. You guys see it too because you get the taxes, and there's a lot of information that I can show you how you can use it on your own end of when taxes are remitted and other ways to view a calendar other than Airbnb, because you're getting very, very, very flawed, watered down information unless all you see is if it's blocked. That doesn't mean that it's actually somebody staying or that it's live.
So
2019.
I move to change it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So this one is gonna stay as residential for 19, and, you don't want,
And then
we're
when
not.
And
our
3308 's
We'll
not
catch
in-
up with the value. for
3308's not in question,
Yeah,
right?
so I mean,
Right.
Okay.
so next year, the value will be addressed because of the new construction
Sure.
on both of them.
And the
Understood.
classification may change as well.
Understood.
Yeah,
So that
but
should-
right now you're good. All right, with that being said, we'll take, the Board of Equalization will take 3922 Castleman under advisement as to reclassification from residential to commercial. Well, I think that concludes Alex's appeals for today, and we shall see you again soon, and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all for
Yes, sir.
listening and your time. I really appreciate it.